I'm Claire Monroe, a former CEO once hailed as Seattle's symbol of success. Until the day I fell from a 3-story scaffold and never walked again. My so-called perfect husband, Thomas Reed, a tech CEO, convinced the world he was a hero, all while secretly plotting to turn me into a profitable corpse. But he forgot one thing. I didn't die. And I recorded everything. Before I share the whole truth, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've ever survived something no one thought you could. Trust me, you're going to want to hear what happens next. They say Seattle's rain washes everything clean. I used to believe that, watching droplets race down my office windows at Monroe Studio, my interior design firm in the heart of downtown. At 34, I had everything. A thriving business, a penthouse view, and Thomas Reed, the tech CEO everyone called my perfect match. The accident happened on a Tuesday. One moment I was inspecting ceiling fixtures at a renovation site. The next, I was falling through collapsing scaffolding. 3 stories down. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. They didn't mention I'd never walk again. Thomas became a local hero overnight. Tech CEO puts career on hold for paralyzed wife, read the headlines. He wheeled me through hospital corridors, smiled for cameras, held my hand during physical therapy. The world saw devotion. I saw something else in quiet moments, a flicker of calculation behind his concerned eyes. My first recording started as a voice memo for grocery lists. But one night, after Thomas snapped at me for asking about our joint account, I found myself whispering into my phone. October 15th, 11:47 p.m. He said I'm becoming too dependent. The man who insisted I stop working is angry I need him. I needed proof that what I felt was real. That the ice creeping into our home wasn't just my imagination. The changes came gradually. First, Thomas hired Lena Holt as a project assistant to help with household management. 25, fresh from business school, she'd actually interned at my studio the previous summer. I remembered her enthusiasm, her ambition. Now she managed my medication schedule, my appointments, my life. You need to focus on healing, Thomas said when I protested. Let us handle the business details. The us stung more than I expected. Within weeks, he'd convinced me to sign power of attorney. Temporarily, of course. Just until I was stronger. My company shares followed, transferred for easier management during recovery. Each signature felt like losing another piece of myself. Then came the email. Jordan, our new IT assistant, accidentally forwarded a message thread to my old work account, the one nobody remembered I still checked on my phone. Photos of Thomas and Lena at a conference in Portland, his hand on her lower back, her laughing at something he'd whispered. The timestamps showed he'd told me he was in emergency board meetings that weekend, but the photos weren't what made my hands shake. It was Thomas's message below. Phase 2 almost complete. She's signing everything over without question. I hired Jordan that night. Not officially. Thomas controlled our finances now. But I had jewelry I could sell. Pieces he'd forgotten about. We met at a Starbucks bathroom, away from security cameras. Jordan was 23, scared, but angry about what he'd discovered. There's more, he said, sliding a USB drive across the table. So much more. Spring arrived with an unexpected invitation. Thomas, suddenly attentive again, suggested a weekend at our cabin on Lake Wenatchee. Just like old times, he said, though we'd never gone there since my accident. The cottage had stairs, narrow doorways, no wheelchair access. I'd mentioned this before. He'd forgotten, apparently, but I smiled and agreed. The previous night, I'd found an email draft on his laptop. He'd left it open while showering. Window of opportunity next weekend. Everything arranged. Elle will have alibi in Vancouver. My suitcase felt heavier than usual when Thomas loaded it into the car. While he checked the house locks, I unzipped it partially. Between my clothes lay manila folders, insurance documents I'd never seen. Beneficiary change forms dated next week. Lena Holt's name where mine should be. My phone buzzed. Jordan. GPS tracker in your wedding ring activated. We'll follow at distance. The 3-hour drive stretched endlessly. Thomas talked about future renovations for the cabin, making it more accessible. His enthusiasm felt rehearsed. When we stopped for gas, I noticed he'd bought rope, a tarp, and hiking supplies. Planning to fix the dock, he explained, though I knew the cabin had no dock. As we turned onto the final dirt road, cell service died. The trees closed in, dense and dark despite the afternoon sun. My wedding ring felt cold against my finger, its hidden tracker my only lifeline. Thomas hummed along to the radio, occasionally glancing at me in the rearview mirror. "You're quiet," he said. "Just tired," I lied, memorizing every turn, every landmark, knowing I might need to describe this route later. If there was a later. The clearing appeared suddenly. Not our cabin, but a cliff overlooking the lake. No buildings, no paths, just a narrow ledge where the forest ended and a 50-foot drop began. Thomas parked carefully, his movements too precise, too practiced. "I thought we'd watch the sunset first," he said, unloading my wheelchair. His phone, I noticed, stayed locked in the glove compartment. Like that time in Hawaii, remember? We'd never been to Hawaii together. He pushed me to the edge, my wheels inches from where earth became air. The lake stretched below, beautiful and deadly. No boats, no houses visible. Even the birds had gone quiet. "You know what's funny?" Thomas said, his hands still on my chair handles. "I used to admire your independence. Now look at us." He leaned down, his breath warm against my ear. "You once said you'd rather die than be a burden. Were you lying then? Or are you lying now when you pretend to be happy?" His hands left the handles. I heard him step back, felt the chair shift slightly forward. My fingers found the brake locks, engaged them silently. "I'm leaving now," he announced. "There's water in your bag, some food. Someone will find you eventually. Or not." He dropped a GPS unit beside me, the batteries scattered separately on the ground. "You always were too proud to accept help." I listened to his footsteps fade, the car engine start, tires crunching away on gravel. Then silence. Just me, the cliff, and the dying light. My phone showed no signal as expected, but my ring's tracker pulsed steadily, invisible, calling for help I prayed would come. Darkness fell faster than I'd imagined. The temperature dropped 20 degrees within an hour. I rationed my water, tried to reach the scattered batteries, nearly tipped my chair attempting it. That's when I heard the engines. 2 cars approaching fast. Headlights flooded the clearing. Jordan jumped out first, followed by someone I hadn't seen in 5 years. Ethan Walsh, my college boyfriend, now a cybersecurity expert with silver creeping into his temples. "Claire!" Jordan ran over, checking me frantically. The tracker went stationary. We knew something was wrong, but I was staring at Ethan, who knelt beside my chair, his familiar green eyes full of concern. "Jordan called me," he said simply. "Figured you might need someone who actually knows these woods." They carried me to Ethan's SUV, properly equipped with a wheelchair ramp. Inside, wrapped in blankets, I finally broke. "I chose stability over love," I whispered, not sure who I was talking to. "I chose Thomas because he offered security, success. And now..." My voice cracked. "Now I have neither." Ethan drove while Jordan worked on a laptop in the back. "We've been building a case," Jordan said. "Every transaction, every forged document. But Claire, there's something else." He showed me his screen. "Thomas filed commitment papers yesterday. He was going to have you declared mentally incompetent when you wandered off from the cabin." In a small motel room later, safe and warm, we planned our counterattack. Ethan had found security footage from the gas station, showing Thomas buying supplies. Jordan had recovered deleted emails discussing the accident arrangement. And I had my recordings, months of small cruelties that painted a clear picture. "We're going to bury him," Ethan said quietly. "Legally speaking, Naomi Green didn't look like a pit bull in her pastel cardigan, but Thomas's lawyer learned differently. She specialized in disability rights and financial abuse, and she'd been waiting for a case like mine. "The psychiatric evaluation is fascinating," she said, spreading papers across her desk. "Especially since Dr. Morrison lost his license 3 years ago. Your husband didn't do his homework." We unraveled Thomas's web systematically. Shell companies in Lena's name holding my diverted assets. Forged signatures on documents dated when I was in surgery. A paper trail of premeditation that led back months before my accident. "There's more," Naomi said carefully. "We found the scaffolding company's inspection reports. The structure was sound the day before your fall. Someone tampered with the support bolts. The implication hit like ice water. My accident might not have been an accident at all." That night, I recorded a different kind of video. No anger, no accusations, just truth. 2 minutes of quiet devastation about what happens when disability makes you vulnerable to those who claim to love you. Jordan's girlfriend, a social media manager, knew exactly how to release it. By morning, #left to disappear was trending. Messages flooded in from others who'd lived similar nightmares. The invisible became visible. The silent found their voices. Thomas's company's stock plummeted. Investors flee from scandal, especially when it involves attempting to murder a disabled woman. Lena disappeared, fled to Canada, her apartment empty, her social media scrubbed. But we had enough evidence without her. The courtroom smelled like old wood and justice. I sat straighter in my wheelchair, wearing the red suit from my CEO days. Thomas, across the aisle, looked smaller than I remembered. His lawyer kept whispering urgently, shuffling papers, sweating. The prosecution played my recording first, Thomas's voice filling the room. "She's practically dead weight. I'm just speeding things up. The insurance alone will fund the expansion." Jurors shifted uncomfortably. One woman covered her mouth. Then came the emails, the financial records, the security footage. Each piece of evidence another nail. But the moment that broke him was unexpected. Lena's video deposition from Vancouver. She'd flipped, traded testimony for immunity. Her description of planning sessions, of Thomas practicing his grieving husband's speech, made even the judge pause. I watched Thomas crumble in real time. His mask slipped, revealing the stranger I'd been living with. When he met my eyes, I saw no remorse, only rage that I'd survived, that I'd fought back. The verdict came swift. Attempted murder in the 2nd degree, financial fraud, conspiracy, medical fraud, insurance fraud, 25 to life, no parole for 15 years. As they led him away, Thomas turned back once. "You were supposed to need me," he said. "I did," I replied. "That was the weapon you used." Walking, rolling, out of that courthouse, I felt lighter than I had since the accident. Not healed, not whole, but free. The rain had stopped. Seattle's sky, for once, was clear. Jordan waited by the van, grinning. Ethan stood beside him, holding coffee and my favorite bagel from the place we used to study at in college. "So," Ethan said, "what's next?" I knew exactly what was next. The studio space wasn't large. A converted loft in Pioneer Square with huge windows and original brick. But it was mine. Really mine. Monroe Adaptive Design opened 6 months after the trial, with Ethan as co-founder and Jordan running our digital presence. We specialized in what I'd learned the hard way. Spaces that worked for everyone. Homes where wheelchairs were considered from blueprint to finish. Offices where accessibility meant more than a ramp at the back door. Beautiful spaces that embraced rather than accommodated differences. The podcast started as Jordan's idea. What they didn't see, stories of invisible abuse, financial manipulation, the vulnerabilities that predators exploit. My first episode drew 1 million downloads. By episode 10, we had sponsors, a book deal, and more stories than we could tell. "You give people hope," a listener wrote. "You show that survival isn't about walking away. Sometimes it's about rolling forward." Today, Ethan and I sit by Lake Wenatchee, the same lake where everything almost ended. We bought a small cabin here, properly accessible, with windows facing the water. It's been 3 years since that night on the cliff. 2 since we admitted that some choices, delayed, aren't lost forever. Do you regret it? Ethan asks, knowing I'll understand. He means choosing Thomas first, chasing security over love, letting fear guide my younger self. Regret's the wrong word, I say, watching eagles circle overhead. Every choice led here. The pain, the healing, the fight. It all led to now. My ring catches the light. A simple band now. No hidden trackers needed. Below us, the lake that almost became my grave reflects clouds and possibilities. I'm still in a wheelchair. Some things don't get fixed. But I'm not broken. Never was. Just human. Just healing. Just beginning.